So then my husband's like, well, then what am I going to be? And then my son said, Peter Parker. And he goes, we could both be Spider-Man. I was like, hey, what about me? And then my husband's like, well, you're Rio. So my son's like, oh, but mom, they don't sell the costume. You're not going to be able to find the Rio costume. I said, honey, I am the costume.
Yes, yes. It's like,
And
it's
that's,
me, the face.
yeah, I said, and that's how Halloween was decided at our home this year.
Nerd reactor, roll out.
Okay, Jacqui, you're
Hi,
in,
John.
yeah, you're in Marvel's Spider-Man 2, and you've been in the previous games. So you've been in
Yes.
Miles Morales, and yeah, so it's like a journey of just seeing the character, and she has a story, Rio Morales. And so what was that like for you seeing that, like, oh, this character has her own arc and in these video games?
It's been such a wonderful ride. And, from Spider-Man 1, the first game, it was, a small introduction to establishing Miles and his backstory and his family, but it was written so beautifully. And I, even just as a spectator, viewed that script as just like a beautiful movie. So what it feels like is like we're on a trilogy, of
Oh yeah.
films. They're shot so beautifully. The crew, the writers, the directors, we treat this. I mean, I know it's all fun and games now because the game is out, but when we are working, it is like we're shooting a film. We rehearse, we prepare, we talk about story. The characters have developed slowly over time based, I think, on what we can bring to them as individuals, what Najee brings to Miles, and what Yuri brings to Peter Parker. So I think that Insomniac has given us the license to express how we see these characters evolving as an emotional through line, so we can connect all three games.
Yeah. And with your character, her, like, with the acting, is it including mocap too, right? And the is it the facial stuff too? So it's like your face on the character, and
Yes. So,
yeah.
yes. And, I don't know if a lot of, and I'm sure gamers know, but in case you don't, when we are filming this and we have our outfits on with our camera gear, the cameras are right in front of the face. I don't know if anyone has seen a lot of, we've shared, behind the scenes shots and stuff, after the game is released, we're able to share some of that. So we're actually filming this as a live action, but because we're doing motion capture, um, we don't see the sets, it's all imagination, but it's set up so that the artists can come in and animate it on a computer screen. So most of the footage you see is actually, we did it on stage, like we're acting a live action film. And we'll do little pickups with the voice. We'll do little things that we may have missed or wanted to add or had to clean up audio. We'll do that in front of a mic, like you are right now, in
Yeah.
your studio. But it is shot like a live action film, just with the suits that allow the artist to add the animation.
And I'm pretty sure for you as an actor being in this project and having your face there, isn't it? That's like for me, yes, they're using my face compared to, let's say we're doing other voice acting work when it's like a different character. So what was that like? Just seeing that, like, oh, this is me.
What it's done for me, and the funny thing is, because I see my face, but I also see my body. Because me, I know it's me because you had to do the outline of your silhouette, and you stand there and you get all the Velcro dots that outline your physique and your whole body in to the computer. So that, I think, brought me closer to Rio Morales than any other character I have played for film or television. I think that's why I love this character so much and feel so close to the story, because it's an extension of who I am. I'm a mom in real life. I identify with having a son that you're very protective about. I'm an advocate, and I am all about, yes, city council meetings and advocating. And although I do it in my private life on a different platform, I do it for rescue dogs and animal welfare. I have that part of me exists in my life. So when Rio is having these scenes being an advocate or helping the community, that's not foreign to me as an individual. And I find that that's why when I see the image, I'm like, oh yeah, that's me. Go get it, girl. Like I root for Rio because I think she represents that voice that so many women do have. And we want to empower more moms and women to take a stand and go out there in the world and speak up for what you believe in.
Yeah. And because you've done different roles from the different projects, you've played like doctors, nurses, and
Teacher,
detectives, teachers.
detectives.
So yeah. So like with Rio, the character, would you say she's the most like you out of all the other characters you played?
Probably, yes, I think so. I think there was one other role in my 20s that I played on a show called Resurrection Boulevard, and I was playing an animal control officer. So I used to work in a dog shelter. But back then, I was not an advocate for animal welfare. I just, I like doggies, but now looking back, I go, oh my gosh, that was so much a part of me. I just hadn't discovered that yet in me. Which is another really beautiful thing about being an actor, is that as you're playing the roles, and something as extensive as the Rio Morales, because we've done 3 games, so it's years, working on this and revisiting the old footage and playing the games as part of my homework to refresh my memory on where we left off and what we did in the last game. It becomes a part of you. It's something that you live with. So I feel very close to representing Rio.
Oh yeah. And since Spider-Man 2 is out now, and what was it like if you were like promoting this beforehand and then afterwards, like being able to finally talk about more things about it? Because we'll talk about like the story stuff that's happening in Rio, but what was that? What your thoughts are on just finally being able to talk more about it?
Um, I was tight-lipped the whole time. There was nothing I could say about even being in the game. And also, when you're shooting and when you're filming, you do a lot of work, and you don't know if all of it's going to make it in, if some of it's going to be cut out, redirected. It's still up in the air until you see the final product. But it was hard because I'm like, oh my gosh, I was just like everybody else going, oh my gosh, it's coming out, but I couldn't say anything. So it was kind of more fun, but it was just like, ah. So when it finally was released and we could watch it and let people know that we were a part of it, it's fun to support. I feel like me sharing information or pictures and talking to the fans about it, it's like we're celebrating all this hard work that we did that we couldn't talk about at all or show in pictures until now.
Oh yeah. And yeah, so now Rio, she's like the councilwoman and just helping out, and she's also trying to help with Miles in the game, like just moving on because Miles has that vengeance for Martin Lee, and as Rio, you're like, you know what, just move on. It's like the past is the past, and I think that's like a parallel with what Rio is experiencing too in the game. So what was that like in that moment, that scene for you?
Naji and I had some really heartfelt moments, and each game has allowed us to play a few of those key moments that I think, although not as a playable character, but on that mission, when the gamers get to go through those scenes, or if they choose to, I think it just gives it more depth. You're going to care more about Miles. You're going to be more invested in his journey and his outcome when you see the vulnerable sides of him, when you see the things that he cares about that has high stakes for him. Because if anything were to happen, to his mom, or things that his mom cares about, I think it would affect Miles greatly, especially after having lost his dad. So I really love the way the writers and Insomniac took the story, and it's not just about action playing, because of course that's exciting, but sometimes it carries more weight when there's something big at stake, right? So I think that was the important part of me being in those moments with Naji, is that it gives every character and the story more depth.
Oh yeah. And I don't know for you personally, like with like let's say, would you feel more like you would be like Miles or Rio in terms of like, man, I don't know, this Lee guy, he did his team, his posse, killed off Aaron Davis, or
Oh,
no, not Aaron, but
oh,
Jefferson.
Jefferson.
So yeah,
That is a tough question. It's a very good question because obviously there's that part of you that's like, yeah, let's go get them, like you just can't
yeah,
help yourself. You want to get revenge. Absolutely. So me in real life, I mean, it's tough to say. I think before I was a mom, I think I was more of a risk taker and I would have been more like, I'll stop at nothing to get back at them.
yeah,
But when you become a parent, things change and you go, I need to do whatever I can to keep myself safe and protected because I have to protect my son. And I just don't want anything to backlash at my son, right? So moms think that way. And I think Rio is wired in a way to be very protective of Miles because he's already lost one parent. So whatever we can do to make sure we're safe and together. But I think she would do anything and to protect him even if she was in danger.
yeah. And what I liked about Rio's role is that she knows like Miles is Spider-Man, and she's like so supportive. It's like just do your thing, but be careful
Yeah.
and come home safe. And
Yeah.
she even talks to like Peter as Spider-Man, like, hey, you need to like help out Miles.
I
And
feel like,
yeah,
yeah, I feel like there's a bit of a motherly and sort of endearing relationship that I feel toward Peter because even though he's older than Miles, he's still, almost like a son, almost like I need to look out for him. It's like, if my kid has friends, I want to make sure those friends are okay too. I need to protect them because they're hanging out with my son. And if Peter is such a big influence on Miles, and Miles looks up to him as a mentor and a guide, and they're out there, facing the dangers of the world, of course, I want to make sure Peter is okay. So
yeah,
I think that's not something that is blatantly apparent in the game, but I will tell you that as Rio, that is something that I really felt. It's like, I'm hard on him because I know he's older and more mature, so he should know better. He's more experienced. But if you're taking my son under your wing, you better be careful.
yeah, for sure. And uh the game's out, so I think we can talk about this. The ending, and spoiler alert. So there is because Rio talks about dating, and she wants Miles to meet a
Yeah.
certain person,
Yeah.
and the certain person happens to be the father of a particular character.
Right.
And so what was that like for you, like doing that scene, like knowing more about it, and just discovering it, or just like, oh man, I can't wait for the fans to experience this.
That's exactly what it was. It was a big surprise to me. And I was excited and I was like, oh, really? We're going there, huh? So it's fantastic. It just opens up a whole new door of possibilities. So without saying too much for any, gamers who haven't gone all the way to the end or gotten the game, because a lot of people are like, I can't get the game.
Oh
So
yeah,
um, I think that it's really adventurous and it just keeps you guessing. So there's always the potential for more adventure and danger and obstacles. And I think that's what I love about involving all the characters, even the non-playable ones, is that you just never know where it's coming from. So you have to stay on your toes with it.
yeah. And I think I can say like, this is gonna lead to just another game, and then more stuff for you to do, right? So
Hopefully, right? Yes, hopefully.
yeah, and just seeing this, like the role of just Rio from the video games to also the Spider-Verse universe. So I Rio's like a character I think like a lot of Spider-Man fans have grown to love now, just like being part of the family, and just so loving and just so supportive, like in both the video games and the Spider-Verse. And when you have that, I think like it feels good, like just having that support for Miles. And yeah,
Yeah, I'm actually very pleased and so grateful that the fans have been so supportive and loving of the character of Rio Morales because I didn't come in with any intentions. I am the actor who comes in to serve the story. My job is to bring Rio to life and give the writers and the creators the vision of what they wanted for this character. But we've grown together through the years. It's been several years now, so it does feel like family to me to work with this cast, to work with Insomniac, and I'm so grateful and then pleased that they're pleased with the outcome of her journey and how well received she is. I get the most heartwarming, lovable, loving messages from fans, on X or Twitter, whatever it's called now.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's I still call it Twitter.
Yeah.
I'm such a mom, so old school. And then of
It's
course,
still a domain, twitter.com. It still goes there. So
so
yeah.
but yeah, so it's really kind of cool because I'm glad that it goes beyond the game. People are affected positively, and in life, that's the kind of person I am too. I really want to, the world we live in is so chaotic. There's so much going on. I think the game is reflective of a lot of reality too in the city, and the potential dangers and the things we have to watch out for. That it's kind of nice to have. You need that bit of positivity. You need that, like it's kind of like having a home cooked meal. You always want that, even if you get to eat out all the time and have yummy restaurant food and dessert. At some point, you just need that comfort, and that's I think what Rio offers is the safety and comfort. Always knowing Miles is safe and he's loved. And no matter what he does and what happens, he's always going to have that for me.
Oh yeah. And speaking of, you were mentioning food, the game does mention, was it pastelon? And like, I didn't know about that. And I looked it up, and I was like, oh, this looks good. I want to eat this. So
Oh, so good, especially because, yeah, she tries to get the food that's traditional to her Puerto Rican background. And in New York, you can find fabulous, family-owned Puerto Rican restaurants with authentic recipes. So yeah, el pastelón, I mean, it's delicious stuff that they bring out. And even in the second game too, we had other stuff that you could see at least, or have a tape when she's cooking and you see the shots over me cooking, it's delicious, to have that added flavor. Some people pick up on it and some don't, but it's just nice to have all that detail. It makes it so real. That's why I feel like it's like a movie.
oh yeah. And since almost time's running out, so it'll be my last question for you. With I just blanked out right now. It was like it was right here.
You
And
went to
then
the food.
I went to the food. I was like, no, I can't stop thinking about that and trying to eat that. But I'm pretty sure it's something Spider-Man related. Oh, okay. So you posted on Instagram a photo of your family like dressed like Spider-Man, right? So that's you showing your love for the Spider-Man franchise. So what was that like? Like, was that your idea? And
No. So, usually, and I'll tell you, my husband's birthday's on Halloween. So for years, of course, there's a lot of pressure on me. I can't let him down. He always likes to dress up, even before we had a son together. So Halloween's always like a big thing in our home. And I have to gear up. So I always have my costume like months in advance, and we've planned the whole thing, whatever. And this year has been really crazy. There's been a lot of school stuff with my son. I've been very involved with helping and just doing stuff with rescue dogs. So this year kind of slipped under the rug for me. I was like, And my son, about a week before, I said, oh my gosh, we need to get you a costume. What are you going to be? And he just said, out of nowhere, we were at the dinner table. He goes, I'm going to be Miles Morales. And I go,
yeah.
you do? And he goes, yeah. And so then I was like, oh. And then like the light bulb went off, but I didn't say anything. I was like, that could make my job very easy this year. So then my husband's like, well, then what am I going to be? And then my son said, Peter Parker. And he goes, we could both be Spider-Man. I was like, hey, what about me? And then my husband's like, well, you're Rio. So my son's like, oh, but mom, they don't sell the costume. You're not going to be able to find the Rio costume. I said, honey, I am the costume.
Yes. It's like,
And
it's me,
that's,
the face.
yeah, I said, and that's how Halloween was decided at our home this year, which thankfully, because I would have had to run out to find something last minute to wear and put on. And so it was kind of nice because then it just came full circle. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is so cool. Why didn't I think of this before? And we ended up being Rio Miles and Peter Parker.
Oh, that's just perfect. But yes, Jacqui, yeah, it's been a pleasure chatting with you. And yeah, just thanks a lot for, with the interview. And hope,
Absolutely, John. Thank you
yeah.
so much. Thank you for all the fun content that you bring out to the public out here, and I really enjoy it. I've seen a few of the links that I went through your bios and a few of the episodes, and you're really on it. Thank you so much.